Hey guys, welcome back. Congratulations. We've all made it back through another week of quarantine. I know it's getting boring, but hopefully this will bring you a little bit of respite for this week. Today, we're very lucky to be joined by Jamal Ford Robinson, Gloucester's front row. Jamal, how are you?
I'm good. I don't know about very lucky, but yeah, I'm here.
Well, it means a lot to us that you've given us some of your time to come speak to us this evening. So, we'll start in the present day with Gloucester this season. Obviously, it's been less than ideal. The results haven't quite been falling your way. Is there anything which, like, you as a player or as a club, you've identified where you need to improve?
Um, it's a tough one because I think if you were to come into the training ground and kind of get a sense of the vibe around the place and the kind of belief in what we're doing, it wouldn't be a reflection of where we are, right? Because we're all buying in and we're all working very hard, and I'm sure. And saying that out loud, I know everyone says that, right? Who's gonna come on the podcast and say, "Yeah, I've got no idea what we're doing, and we can't be asked." But it's true. Like, we are working hard, and there is real belief in what we're doing, and it kind of sounds a bit stupid to say given the results, but I don't feel like we need to change that much. I think we just need to get better at doing what we say we're going to do. I think you see glimpses of it in games where it's like, oh, there's a bit of the Gloucester that we all know, and then there's probably larger parts of the game where it's like, there's the Gloucester of current throwing a game away. So yeah, it's
Talk about throwing a game away. Is there anything in particular that you guys have identified as that's where you've been losing the games?
I think it just comes down to like the consistency in what we're doing. I think I don't know how to say it without sounding so cliche, but it's just like the lapses in concentration as a team where we just like, well, I don't know, we'll like concede a penalty when we're trying to score a try, right? So it'll be at their end, concede a penalty, and then we'll back it up and then back it up again, and suddenly we're gone from attacking their try line to like 5 meters defending our own. And it's just like it's relatively small stuff in a game, but the frequency of it and is what's killing us.
Is that completely a mindset thing, would you say?
I think, yeah, not completely, but I think, yeah, for a large part, I think it would be, because I think we're definitely fit enough to do what we want to do, and we've got, like, whoever sits on the bench, we've got really good, what does he like to call them? Finishers. Really good finishers, good impact players going off. So like we've got the team to do it and we've got the fitness to do it. But I think, yeah, maybe it's like the mental lapses in concentration or whatever it is that is, especially in the Premiership, it's just like you're off it for one play and suddenly the other team are taking advantage of it, and then it just escalates from there.
Obviously, looking forward to the rest of the season. You guys, I think you've won one game so far. Is it now a case of just sort of surviving the season, trying to get a few wins, just making sure you're there next season, and almost already looking forward to planning for next season?
Not really, and I only say that because of like the words you use, like in terms of like surviving. Like, we are in like no means that attitude of surviving, right? We still believe in ourselves that there's like a lot of just like untapped potential within the team, and I think once it clicks, I think we'll be flying. And I genuinely believe that, like, come the end of the season, because I think what we only about round 7 or something. It's still very early days, right? So I genuinely believe, like, when you look towards the end of the season, like the kind of I think we'll be climbing, and I think like some of the issues that we had at the start of the season will be like people just forgot about them because of the turnaround we've had. But I mean, I suppose on a bigger picture, it is about, we don't know what's going on come the end of the season, that kind of thing. So bigger picture is, yeah, we need to get our act together quick, because like you've seen with like the likes of Newcastle coming up this season, like there is no easy games anymore. So we need to get our act together quick, get ourselves off the bottom, and then we build going forward, right? Because this is a new coaching group, this is a relatively new playing group. We've got some signings coming in next season, so it's definitely something that's again, it sounds like a cliche because you speak to anyone and they say, "Oh yeah, we're in transition." Unless you're winning stuff, you're in transition. There's no there's either one or the other, either winning the Prem or you're in transition. But like we are genuinely in like a transition period where like we've got new coaches, we've got the squad next season isn't going to be like vastly different, but you've seen the few signings that are already going to come in. We've had some signings come in this season that will be here going forward, and I think once it all starts to click, then I genuinely believe like we'll be pushing for top spots.
Yeah, I think I think your only win this season came against Wasps, who were in the Premiership final just last year. So I think that shows the diversity and how easy it is to first to lose to last to beat first, etc.
Yeah.
And I promise we are going to move on to slightly more positive things, but obviously the Six Nations come out, so you've lost two of your, main players in Johnny May and Louis Samet on the wings. How big an impact is that going to have on the squad? Is that almost a change in tactics because you've lost two of the most deadliest finishers in the World Rugby at the moment?
I think thankfully for the troubles that we have, back three doesn't seem to be one of them. We do have like some like solid options across our back three, you know, like Woody, we got Thorley who's still with us, guys like that. So I think luckily we're not the fact that those two have gone isn't like they're good players, right? I'm not going to say they're bad players, but it's not like it isn't the worst place they could have been taken from is the wings, right? And to be honest, it doesn't really. I'm not a back. I don't know. I don't know what they do. My head's just in the bottom of the ruck most of the time, but I don't think it would change the way we play that much because in essence we have a system and everyone fits within that system, right? There's stuff like that probably I've seen like Zamet do, especially in terms of like we'll just kick a ball downfield. There's one last season there's a load of space in the backfield. We just hoofed it down there with like no real direction, and he was just so fast that he just outpaced everyone and scored a try. So I mean, like stuff like that, like the kind of like 1%, like how have you done that? That's ridiculous. Like probably can't do that, but in general, it doesn't really change anything.
Yeah, and so looking more positive, I can't believe I'm saying this is almost a year ago now, but during COVID, you won community player of the month. So while there's no rugby, they changed the player of the month and that was more for your sort of your funny videos and blogs that you were doing. What was the thinking behind that? Just were you bored and that was your way of entertaining yourself, or was it looking to have a positive impact on the community?
I'd love to say that it was purely to have a positive impact on the community. However, the original thought behind it was I need something to keep me entertained here because I'm in a one bed flat by myself with absolutely nothing to do like everyone else, and I needed something to commit to. So my commitment for those few months was to get up and make a stupid TikTok every morning. But then obviously like it then after a few videos, I realized that like, you know, people were loving it. And I realized that it was more than just me just keeping myself entertained with my shirt off. It was like, oh, this is people. Like, I had messages of people like genuinely like I'd sit at home all day and I just look forward to your next post, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah.
There's one which I think sort of struck everyone loved in particular. That was your Whitney impression. I'm gonna be incredibly cheeky. Can we get a little glimpse of that now?
I don't know what did I even do? It was just a lip sync of Whitney, right?
Yeah, no, it was.
Which is enter that one.
Yeah,
yeah. Lucky I didn't have to sing it in the TikTok, right? I just
that would have been made it. I reckon that would double the views if you had.
Yeah.
Moving on, looking at your career more on a whole now. You obviously started off with Bristol. You won promotion with them up from the Championship, but then obviously the next season you're immediately relegated again. What was it sort of like being part of the squad who achieved such highs and then lows again?
It was weird. It was a journey because it's I have very fond memories of it because it's just such a weird time with like a real good squad, but I think there was a lot of external stuff going on that was kind of out of our control, and it was just like it just got to the point where it was like, let's just enjoy the ride. So like I ended up I actually joined halfway through a season before where we were looking to get promoted, and we lost to Worcester in the final. So like I kind of joined with Bristol with the expectation of like, right, I'm going to join. I'm going to go into the Prem and whatever. And then it was like I joined, we lost. It was like, oh, another year in the champ then. And then, like you said, then went on to get promoted. And like, I just don't think we were nearly enough prepared for coming up as, you know, like the Bristol of now and Newcastle, for two examples of like they've come up and like they've actually been prepared for the jump to the Prem. But no, it was a fun time.
You talk about that. Was that you make it sound like there was a noticeable difference between the Championship and the Premiership? Obviously, the moment is the question: should relegation and promotion be scrapped and just make the Premiership bigger? What are your sort of views on that?
Oh no! Whatever I say here, someone's gonna hunt me down. There is a massive gap. There is a massive gap between the two. I think there's probably. I mean, if you look at it at the moment, you've got Surrey's who can obviously come back up. And well, judging on the past couple of results, Ealing are ready to come back up too. So, or sorry, to come up into the Prem as well. So, and it's kind of been the same. There's always been like one team in the champ who's ready to make the jump, and then there's just a gulf of quality, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say because without being biased somewhat, I can see like the benefits in getting rid of it, getting rid of the relegation. I do think I think I personally think that if you had the 12 or 14, 13 teams, whatever what it was going to be, I think it would, especially at the moment, financially, it would be really beneficial for everyone involved to like say, okay, we can take a breath. Like the world's gone to shit the last couple of years. Let's just take the foot off the gas. 2 years where you don't have to worry about dropping down to the champ and losing all your BT money and your Prem money and all that. Let's just establish ourselves, and then we'll reopen it again, and we're back to normal. But then I can also see the flip side of it as like, especially if you're a neutral, it's like, oh, look, they're bottom. Look, they got to win the next 2 games or they're fucked. And it's like, oh, it's exciting. So, you know, I can see both parts of it. And I don't really know the ins and outs. Like rugby players, we never get told anything. Most of the stuff we find out is on Twitter already. But like, I know that I think it was supposed to get voted that they were scrapping it, and then BT were the ones that put a stop to it. I think, don't quote me on it, but I think that's what happened. Which like again kind of makes sense from what I was saying. Is like, of course, BT, the guys that pay for the TV rights, is like that kind of relegation promotion thing is going to draw the views. But I do think, in my personal opinion, if I had to sit on one side of the fence, I would say, I think just given the circumstances that we've been through the last season and a half, is like, let's chill out. Let's stop the relegation for now because like of all the COVID points and all that stuff. But I would say let's put a date on it in the future where we open it back up again.
Yeah, that's really interesting hearing a player's point of view. So obviously for you, 2017 was the year you left Bristol, but also the year you had your England call up for the Barbars game. Obviously, everyone says it's a Barbarians week. It's completely different to any other international fixture. Was there anything that you sort of noticed, especially away from like comparing it to like a normal club game, the Barbarians? Like, what was it like?
I suppose. I mean, it sounds obvious, but obviously it was like probably one of the biggest games I've played. I think like maybe a more valid comparison would be like comparing a Barbars game to an international game, because like going from playing any sort of club rugby, unless you're like in the Premiership or Heineken Cup final, to putting on an England jersey and representing England against anyone is going to be massive. But I mean, yeah, like it is. I mean, it is a historic fixture as well, right? England versus Barbars, and like who plays for the Barbars and all that kind of stuff. I mean, yeah, it was very cool to be a part of that, and what followed in that off season.
Yeah, you said that. Quite tell me if I'm wrong, but I think you said that experience made you realise the level of rugby you're playing was attainable, and that could potentially become a long-term aim, and you could probably break into the England setup. Is that still something that you believe?
Yeah, I do. It's not necessarily something that I kind of aim for every day. You know, it's not something that like I don't wake up and think, you know, like England squad. But I think I think that if I get my shit right and play well for the club, I think that is a level that I still think I can achieve.
And obviously you got caught up. Or was it Matt go?
How I guess in an England squad, I guess like obviously Barbarians have that iconic style of play. How do you prepare for that sort of? Because you must expect sort of the unexpected in a weird sort of way.
It's funny because it's kind of similar to. Am I allowed to say this? Yeah, go on then. It's probably like similar to how we've prepared for Bristol. Like this weekend is our fixture coming up. Bristol are like again, they're a team that they just throw all sorts of stuff at you. You know, like they have a way that they play, but they've also got stardust everywhere, and you just can't account for all the possibilities. So I personally think it's what we've been doing. It is like the main focus has to be on what you do, like in your defense or your attack or whatever. What is you have to be kind of fully switched on and in control of what you do, so that you can then adapt to whatever you're facing. Because trying to look back over Barbarians' history and go, okay, they ran this play, so this is how we're going to defend that. I mean, they ran that play, and that's going to defend it. And then suddenly you've got like 200 random scenarios where they've tapped and goed and then did an up and under and sent 15 people flying at you. And it's like, you just can't account for it all, you know? So I think like you just make sure your stuff's in order, and I expect the unexpected.
Was it fun to play against, or was it just frustrating, to be honest?
I would love to give you a genuine answer, but I can't even remember the game, to be honest. It's been what's it been? Not that long actually. It's been a few years, but like I can't really remember the game in detail. And I came on for 20 minutes, and I was probably too busy overthinking everything and like, oh, what's this? Is it an England shirt? Oh, is it Twickenham? To even worry about, you know, what I was up against.
And obviously you then got caught up with Argentina towards injury cover. So although I know you didn't get a cap, I don't think, but what was that like an England tour? Like that's every person's dream, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean that was really cool. And like I said, I didn't get a cap, but going out there for the experience of touring with your national side was it's like everything you'd expect it to be, right? Like the fact that you're literally representing your country in another country and having you had 3 games out there. Incredible experience.
They say that a rugby team who goes on tour, like the camaraderie is nothing like it. Are there any particular stories that stick out from that tour which just demonstrate how close everyone got as a group?
My memory is terrible. I don't know really. I can't really pinpoint any stories. I wish there was more. I mean, like, because we obviously was out there for three games, and we only got to kind of really go out and enjoy ourselves after the last one. And then obviously that was soon after a season, so you play a long season, then you go on tour, and it's like you've probably got a bit of pent up drinking to do. So remembering things from that night is always going to be cloudy. But like I just remember just like especially as someone that wasn't playing, when you feel like you're so much part of the team and the squad effort for going out there and trying to win all 3 games, even though you're not even playing. Like that's probably like my main takeaway from it is that like I held a bag for 3 weeks. I got to go on holiday, hold a bag for 3 weeks, but like I felt like I was part of it. And I suppose that was my main takeaway from it.
Alrighty, guys, it's that time again. Time to pay for the pints.
Today's podcast has been brought to you by our mates over at Team Blazers. Big shout out to them, the great British Blaze company, kidding you out for every match day social. Check them out now. And so obviously moving on, you then went on to, after Bristol, you went to Northampton, and I think injuries sort of almost plagued your whole time in Northampton, and especially in your last season when they finished 4th. Have injuries had quite a big impact on you, especially like mentally on your game?
Yeah. My first season was all right at Northampton, then basically my whole second season was a write-off with an injury that I picked up in pre-season and just plagued me until about February, I think. And there was definitely times where I was like, oh, it wasn't a reality, but I was thinking, oh my God, I'm done here. Like, this is, am I ever going to come back from this? When you're just like, you're rehabbing away, but you know, there's no progression from the day before, and it's like, oh, this is it. This is done. So yeah, I mean, like they did affect me mentally from that. But then I also feel like I took the positives out of those as well, like, so that I came back from that, and it's like, okay, I'm much stronger for going through that. And if that situation was to occur again, then I can kind of apply that same mentality when thinking that actually this isn't all doom and gloom. I'll be fine.
Obviously, injuries and mental health is quite a big thing in rugby as well, because they're so frequent. Do you think there's enough in place to help players, especially like within the clubs?
I was actually just about to send a tweet out before this started, because I actually had an interview with someone earlier and they asked a similar question. And then I checked my emails, and the RPA, so the Rugby Players Association, they've formed a partnership with Headspace and have given every RPA member a 12-month subscription to Headspace, which I use anyway, but now I don't have to pay for it for a year, which is nice. So, I mean, like, that alone is probably an indicator of, yes, like, mental health is being recognized, and like we've got posters up all around the club of like, it's okay not to be okay. This is the number to call. You know, if you want to speak to the club doctor, here's an anonymous, you know what I'm trying to say, anonymous number that you can call. So yeah, I mean, like, I think it's definitely being like noticed, as it is in kind of general public life anyway over the last few years. And I think stuff like that is probably like a tangible bit of evidence to show that, yeah, like it is being looked at.
No, that's good. I think that's what everyone also, like, it seems to be. There's more and more involvement. You look at the charities, the organisations who are really like, anyone just needs to be able to feel comfortable and be able to reach out and just find help they need to.
Yeah.
Obviously, oh sorry, Matt, do you have a question?
No. He's just chilling. He's just loving it.
And then obviously Gloucester is where you're at now, and you went there. So obviously one thing with Gloucester is the initiation is the milk challenge, which I believe is 8 pints of milk in 20 minutes.
Correct.
How did that go for you?
Well, spoiler alert, I didn't do it. I was bowled for a bit. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. There is a strategy to it as well, which I tried to adopt, but it's just it wasn't working for me. So the guy you need to speak to, Charlie Beckett. So he was at Gloucester, left. I don't know where he went, but then came back on loan for a bit. But he did the milk challenge twice. He didn't need to, but he came back and he's like, yeah, I'm going to do it again. And he completed it both times. Geordie Reid, who you obviously know if you follow Gloucester, he did it this year. So apparently the strategy is, so you have to have the thing is you have to have all 8 pints of milk consumed on the 20-minute mark. So as long as when the clock strikes 20 and all 8 pints are in you, then you're good. So the kind of strategy is you kind of sip away at 7 of them, or as many as you can, 6 or 7 of them over like 19 minutes 20. And then when you're like on the countdown to the 20th minute, you just slam the last 2 back or the last pint back. Like just hold for as long as you can till the clock strikes 20, and then inevitably you see all 8 pints come back up.
Right, we'll try that. We'll put that on socials.
Yeah. From Matt and I now, this is a challenge to all our listeners. We want to see your milk challenge. We want 8 pints, send them in, and we'll post the best ones on our socials. You've heard the tips, so hopefully we have some success from somewhere. And we'll tag Jamal so he can see whether anyone managed to beat his effort. So obviously at Gloucester's also in front row, you play both tight and loose. You're one of the few left in the professional game who's happy to play both. Is that something that you just think you're a very versatile player, or is there one which you prefer, but you've just been asked to play the other at times?
No, so I mean, before I kind of started playing full time, I was as a loosehead, and then picked up Tighthead when I went to Pirates back in the day, and then have just kind of maintained playing both as I've gone on. I think like if you were to look at the majority of my games, if not all of them pre-Gloucester, I think they were all at Tighthead. But I've always just made sure I'm on top of loosehead as well. And then, this season there was a point where it was like we need a loosehead, and I was like, I'll give it a go if you want. And it's gone all right. So I now seem to flip between the two, depending on what the weather's like.
Yeah. Coach's dream has someone who can play both. There's obviously a lot of competition in the front row at Gloucester. Do you think that's something that plays to your advantage?
Yes and no. I think maybe if you're like kind of out and out now, I'm only a Tighthead, this is all I'm interested in, then I think it's easier to kind of put that pressure on one person. But then if you're looking at if your goal is like I don't care, I just want to be involved, I just want to play every weekend, then it's like now you've got 2 opportunities to make the squad. So it can work both ways.
Now moving away from rugby, I'm hoping some of our listeners will also recognise you from the gaming world. Obviously, that is one of your hobbies, which a way you quite enjoy a bit of. I believe it's PS4. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
I do have a PS4, but the PC is where it is. PC is where it's at. I mean, I've been on PC or Xbox, I think, since I was a kid. I've always gamed. I think like probably most people my sort of age have kind of just grown up with it. And then my love for gaming has probably only just got stronger as I've got older. And I've had more money, so I can throw it away at more stupid high-end PC specs that I don't need. So yeah, I mean, I love gaming. I do it most days. Come back, and after I've done a bit of recovery in that, then I'll just sit on the PC for a few hours and kind of give the bant to the lads and throw in a few headshots. Stream it sometimes on Twitch. Got involved with an esports team, which is a new one that I'm trying out.
So you've been appointed assistant coach or a coach, haven't you? For
so one of the people so the main game I play is League of Legends. We had a game against so it's like rugby players versus XL staff. So there's an esports team called XL Esports who are based in Twickenham, actually, like in the stadium. And there's we put together a team of 5 rugby players to play against them, and we absolutely wiped the floor with them. But one of the guys who was like commentating on the game, I've just been speaking to him about loads of sorts of like coaching and coaching philosophies and stuff, and like the difference between sport and esports. And when lockdown happened, we ended up like, as you can imagine, like nothing to do. So like every day for about 2 months, we just put like 5-6 hours, that's being conservative, 10 hours a day or something like into League of Legends. And it's just like non-stop. And then, yeah, he got the head coach gig at this team called Godsent, and said, you know, like all that kind of coaching stuff that we've been speaking about and your kind of experience in professional sport, I think it could be valuable to the team. Do you want to come and give it a go? And so, yeah.
Yeah. You actually raised quite an interesting point there with like the comparison between esports and rugby. Do you mind if you sort of just share a few like comparisons and similarities between the two?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I think it's everything involved in professional sport that's not specific to the sport. So kind of all the other stuff that like surrounds being a professional. You know, maybe the kind of like the physical side of it isn't the same, the physical requirements, but in terms of like the mental requirements, in terms of the preparation, in terms of nutrition, in terms of like sleep, that all those sort of things are like, they're one for one. They're completely transferable between rugby, football, cricket, and then even a professional FIFA player, professional Call of Duty player. It's all the same. So that's why I think, like, I know, like in general, there's kind of to be like a stigma of like, oh, esports. What even is esports? Do you mean people get paid to play games, or people watch you on your computer? People watch you and they pay you. It's like people don't really get it. But I think if you took a few minutes to actually look into it and realize that like these guys, they I mean, even I'm thinking it now, like saying like they train to be a professional. They're like, what do you mean you train? You just play the game. But like they genuinely like train to be the best at this game, and they dedicate their time to it. And in a lot of the cases, especially in comparison compared to rugby, the money is there too. Yeah, like I think it's something that will become more and more kind of apparent as time goes on, that actually this is a genuine thing that's happening.
Have you found that gaming, whether it be Warzone or League of Legends, being a way for you, almost in these weird COVID times, been a way for you to communicate with members of the squad? I know Ben Young's recently spoke about the effect of Warzone in the England camp. That's some of the new boys who've never been on a camp before. That was one of the ways they really gelled as a squad. Is that something you found?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, like lockdown was a clear litmus test for that, and that like it was the only form of communication you really had. Well, I know it's not the only form. You can phone call someone or FaceTime them, but like when you're not seeing them every day at the club, and then you might just log on and sink 3-4 hours into Call of Duty, and you probably don't realize it at the time because you just think you're gaming, but actually that is like time that you're spent communicating with other people. And it's like it's something I said earlier as well, was that like this kind of like war on social media thing that's been happening recently, with like people realizing that being on Instagram all the time or Facebook all the time is being taken away from the kind of personal experiences that you have just talking to people as face to face. And then suddenly now we can't do that, and it's like, oh, actually this is probably a good time where these social media things that we have or online gaming is actually beneficial, because this is now this is now the norm at the moment. Like we're doing this podcast over Zoom, whereas like obviously ideally you just get on the road and go and do it in person. But now like everyone does pub quizzes and shit on Zoom or Microsoft Teams, and it's probably like the way things will be done a lot in the future, because people are realizing that, like especially in business, like do we need to spend, I'm going off on a tangent, but do we need to spend like loads of money on a office block or can people just chill out at home and we just do it like this?
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, I've found personally as well as you have that during, especially the second lockdown, gaming's been it's been a savior, sort of a way to communicate with friends, and way which probably before lockdown no one really thought about it in that way.
Mm.
One final thing before we finish is very early on is you had a slight, I'm not gonna say professional wrestling career, but you're involved with wrestling,
Yeah.
and you had links to the WWE, and you actually took part in one amateur show. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I had links to WWE. I knew a friend of a friend of a friend was there, but like, Triple H doesn't know who I am. Is the point? But yeah, so back when I was at Cambridge, I was part time. I was labouring on a building site by day, doing the kind of rugby by the evening thing, living the dream, of course. And I went to a show called Progress Wrestling. It was down in London, and it was their first ever show. So I went along, really enjoyed it. I don't really remember how, but I ended up speaking to the guy who ran it, Jim Smallman. His name is. I think he's one of three that ran it at the time. I think it was because he was from Leicester and I'd been to Leicester Academy, so I was like, "Oh, this is my in." Like, Leicester, yeah, I was there. Anyway, so I had that connection, and then ended up going along to their school, like their wrestling school, Projo it's called. Went to that a few times, and then they had this idea for a show called Endeavour, which was like it was like a sub show where you just like, it was mainly for like the trainees to kind of get some experience in wrestling with like actual people coming to pay to watch, but obviously like everyone knows it's people that are just coming up. And yeah, I had a match on there. My name was Crisis, but spelt weirdly as Krisys, I think it was. Had Down with the Sickness was my entrance theme because I fucking loved that song. Yeah, got on the eBay and found myself some like knee pads and some short shorts, and gave it a whirl. And I really loved it. It was really good. And it was like it'd always been something that I'd like wanted to tick off the bucket list. I was like, I have to do it at least once. And I suppose the only downside was that I only got to do it once, because shortly after I got signed up Pirates, so I had to move from Cambridge down to Cornwall. So I only got to do it once, and you know, I don't think if I went to George Skivington now, I was like, look, I know this rugby thing is, you know, very important and all, but you know, WrestleMania 50 is coming up, and I want to be in with a shot, you know. So it's definitely on the back burner, but who knows? You know, I there's an article in I think it was Rugby World last couple of weeks, and they were talking about some of the comparisons between rugby and wrestling, and I gave my 2 cents on it, and it made me think maybe if I get to like 35 and the body can still move some sort of way, then I can put some muscle on and give it a go.
Who do you think out of all the Gloucester boys have the most chance of winning WrestleMania?
Well, like WrestleMania is in like one match, or
Yeah, Royal Rumble then.
the Royal Rumble. Who would win the Royal Rumble? So I'm gonna think out loud. So you got like Geordie Reed, right? I reckon he's one of those guys. So spoiler alert, but I won't spoil it too much. But the guy who won the most recent Rumble came in at number 1. So I reckon Geordie Reed is like the kind of guy who just like battle it out. He'd be in the ring for like 60 minutes, beaten, like bloody battered, and then just find a way to win. Or you've probably kind of got like, you know the rules of Royal Rumble, that you have to go over the top rope.
Yeah.
So obviously, like sometimes you get people that like go underneath the rope, and then they end up just chilling out for like 20 minutes, and you forget that they're in there, and then they come back in. So you probably got someone like Charlie Chapman, who's he's a bit of a snaky bloke. So I reckon he'd like climb under the ring, chill out for an hour, and then when it's down to like the last 4, he'd disappear and throw someone out. That is my deep dive analysis on Gloucester rugby players in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah. Well, Jamal, thank you so much for coming to talk to us. We won't take up any more of your evening, but it's been really, really awesome for us. Quite a bit different to some of the stuff we're used to, but been really entertaining and really, really insightful for us into your world.
What do you mean different? Why?
We haven't had someone who's taken part in wrestling or gaming before, and that sort of link between esports and actual rugby is something I haven't thought about before, but actually you raised a few very good points.
Oh, that's cool. Made you think.
Sure.
There you go.
And it definitely made us think. It's making the list think. And thank you very much to everyone else for tuning in again. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Hopefully lockdown's not being too tough on any of you, and we look forward to seeing some of your milk challenges being sent in. Cheers, guys.
Ciao.